Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, good morning and welcome everyone to today's formal meeting of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. Really appreciate everyone being here in person and all those people who are following along online. We always start our meetings with the prayer and the pledge, and we ask the different members of the Board of Supervisors to invite people to join us to lead us in the prayer and pledge. And today, Vice Chair Hickman has a guest he would like to introduce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all, we all know him, but I don't know if the entire crowd does. So I'm really honored and privileged to make the invitation today to Clerk of the County Court System, Mr. Jeff Fine. Jeff has been a stalwart on justice ever since he was a JP. And now he's taking some of those activities that he found to work very well with efficiency of court, and now has a very public and elected role as the clerk to the court system. So, and he's an unbelievable, proud patriot and a man of faith. So I appreciate Jeff Fine responding to my invitation.
Thank you so much, and welcome, Clerk Fine. Great to see you, and I would ask everyone to please stand if you're able.
It is a privilege to represent and honor my fellow veterans with today's invocation. Please join me in prayer. Dear God, in this moment we gather before you to honor in prayer the military veterans among us, those with a passion for freedom and serving others that unselfishly and willingly served and sacrificed to create and protect this nation, this community, and freedom. We thank you for their gift to us, a gift that came with a cost that our veterans and their families paid, a cost that often included lost time with family, missing births, birthdays, first steps, and graduations, moving countless times, months and even years away on special assignments, dangers we cannot begin to fathom, stress and even injury that lasts a lifetime, and being without many of the comforts we enjoy as a result of their sacrifice. It is the cost our veterans paid so that we may stand, live, breathe, move about freely, and pursue our dreams in this land as free persons. And we thank you for the gifts that so many of our veterans continue to give after completing their military service, contributing further as public servants, volunteers, and engaged members of our community. As we reflect on the many contributions of our veterans, help us to always recognize that all around us, they have paid for on our behalf. For their service and sacrifice, for their unselfish love of country, and for how they have blessed us, we pray now for our veterans to be blessed. For those continuing to serve in our armed forces, we ask for their protection, their strength, and for peace. We ask that their needs in serving this great nation be abundantly provided. And we ask for strength for them and their families to overcome the obstacles and hardships they routinely encounter. We also pray for those who suffer from the trauma and other adverse effects often associated with service. Our wounded warriors, our heroes afflicted by physical and emotional wounds, those contemplating suicide, and those without a home. We ask that they would have the benefit of treatment and other help needed for them to overcome such adversity. And we ask for those who serve our veterans for blessings, for their work is most important. Please help us to be thankful for all veterans, for their payment of the cost necessary to birth this nation free from the fate of tyranny and oppression, and the continued cost of protecting us from the threats that exist in our world today. Let us cherish our veterans, respect them, thank them, honor them, and be proud of them. May they know peace and happiness, and may each of our veterans feel honored, not just on Veterans Day, but every day. Please continue to bless our nation and our community and help us to serve others in the image of those who have served us, such as our veterans. Continue to grant our public servants wisdom and help us to always do the right thing for the right reasons and for those we serve. And may the contents of this prayer be reflected in our hearts and in our actions. And everyone said, amen. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may have your seats. Thank you for the honor and privilege of honoring our veterans this morning.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you so much, Clerk Fine, for your wonderful prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. And that's the loudest I've ever heard the Pledge of Allegiance said in this auditorium. So thank you, everyone. Roll call.
Supervisor Sellers,
Here.
Supervisor Galvin,
Here.
Supervisor Gallardo's on his way, and we have Vice Chair Hickman,
Here.
and we have Chairman Gates.
Here. Thank you so much. So now, as Clerk Fine referenced, we did just have Veterans Day, and so we're going to do a Veterans Day recognition before we get into the rest of our business today. We are going to be showing a Veterans Day video, and we're really excited about that and the people who were involved in putting this together. We all know Friday was Veterans Day, and our folks were very busy on Veterans Day, which is a holiday for Maricopa County, but our folks were busy down at elections and through the weekend. And we do employ 1,233 veterans here in Maricopa County. We're very proud of their service, and we're very proud to have them working here at Maricopa County. So this video honors one of our own. This is Vincent Gales. Vincent is a 26-year Army veteran and the Director of Nursing at Maricopa County Correctional Health Services.
This is my CHT, Nancy.
Hello.
Director of Nursing for Maricopa County Correctional Health Services, Vincent Gales, comes from a proud military family.
It started with my grandfather. He served in the Navy in World War II. And then I had an uncle that served in Korea. He was also in the Navy. And then I had an uncle that served in Vietnam. Several cousins that have also served in the military. And my family, my brother served in the Marines. I have a twin. He also served in the Army. He retired, did 21 years. And I have a sister that also served in the Army Reserve. That's where I also met my wife in the military.
Gales himself served in the Army for more than 26 years. He started as a medical laboratory technician before attending nursing school and becoming an Army Nurse Corps officer and doing a tour in Iraq.
On 1st of August 2006, we actually had a mass casualty event that occurred around 2 in the morning where there was a bus that was traveling from northern Iraq down to Baghdad. Prior to the surge, and we received approximately 30 casualties during that time period, and I was in charge of the unit where we took care of what we call the walking wounded. And so that was one of those incidents that I always remember. There was a gentleman an Iraqi soldier. We didn't speak any English, but he said, "Baby," just asking me that I have any babies, and I said yes, and we got to just communicate in that way to know that, hey, even though I'm an American, he's an Iraqi, but we are all still in the same fight. And the humanistic nature of him just saying, baby, just letting me know that he had someone that he was hoping to get home with.
Gales retired as a major and got hired by Correctional Health Services.
I started here initially as the infection control coordinator. As I mentioned, I was a public health nurse, so that flowed right into the job that I did here, taking care of infectious disease prevention inside of the jail. And after doing that for approximately 6 years, then I was promoted to a healthcare administrator, going from the actual work side to administrative duties. And then 2 years after that, I was promoted to the director of nursing, which is my current position now.
Maricopa County employs 1,233 veterans, 27 of which work at CHS. This year, Gales was nominated for the Tom Manos Service Award.
I was recognized for my work during the COVID pandemic. I spent several hours in collaboration with public health and the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department, and we've done a really great job of, containing COVID in the jail during this current outbreak.
Gales says for him, it's been a seamless transition going from serving in the Army to serving the public at CHS.
One of the things that I like about my military time, because of the multiple areas that I've served in and multitude of folks that I've worked with, I have a diverse background of dealing with people. And so also the leadership training that I received in the military has definitely helped me as a leader here within that organization. And
even though Gales has retired from the military, he still honors current military members every Veterans Day.
One of the things that I do for a tradition of mine since I've retired from the military, I normally always run either 5K or 10K on Veterans Day to honor those that are currently serving or have served.
Thank you so much for putting that video together. And at this time, I'd like to ask all the veterans in the room if they could please stand. Thank you very much for your service. Okay, now we're going to move to one of the other 50 lines of business that we're in here at Maricopa County, which is animal care and control. And we do a pet showcase at the beginning of every board meeting so that people can see who we have over there who's ready to be adopted. And Kimberly, you just popped up there on the screen. Good morning. How are you? And who do you have with you?
Good morning, guys. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the veterans as well. I know I'm not there in person, but thank you all for your service. But right now I have Amity, who is sitting right here next to me. She is a 1-year-old chocolate lab who's been at the shelter since November 1st. So when I first met Amity, she was in her kennel and just wiggling around like crazy. She was really excited to see me. And excited to see anyone that really walks by. And she does this little tap dance, of course, and it gets everyone's attention. But she has a really funny quirk, which is that if you give her a treat, instead of eating it, she'll go dig a hole and then bury it in the ground and I guess save it for later. So that's been really fun. And I'm hoping some other dogs have been able to find those treats around the shelter as well. In my office, she hasn't really been able to bury any of them. They're just under my desk now. But she's a great dog, a very happy dog. She loves to just lean up against you and give you some cuddles. She's a little sleepy right now. See if I can get another shot of her. But she's a great dog. The shelter environment is stressful for her, so we're hoping that she can find her home pretty soon here. And her adoption fee is waived.
Wonderful. Well, thanks, Kimberly. Appreciate that and appreciate everything you guys do over there at Animal Care and Control. Madam Clerk, thank you. Madam Clerk, do you have any announcements or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, we have a few announcements. On page 7 of the agenda, item number 8 is being pulled from the Planning and Zoning Hearing Consent Agenda and being placed on the Planning and Zoning regular agenda. And on page 11 of the agenda, item 11, the applicant has requested a continuance to the January 25th, 2023 board hearing.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, so now we'll move into planning and zoning hearings. Consent agenda. 6, Pradera Estates. 7, El Mirage Road LLC. 8, Villages at Pleasant River 2. 9, the 202 and Buckeye Digital Billboard, and 10, Arrington Billboard Conversion Country Club Drive, and I realize we pulled 8, so that's not part of this particular item. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered speakers on these items?
Chairman, Supervisors, we do have the applicants on for items number 7 and 10 to speak only if necessary.
Okay, perfect. All right, then the board will now consider items 6 through 10, leaving out item 8.
Mr. Chairman, being that most of these items are in my district, I move approval of the planning and zoning consent agenda items 6, 7, 9, and 10 in accordance with the commission recommendations as printed on the agenda.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hickman. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman?
Oh. All right. Second by Supervisor Gallardo. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. So then next will we take number 8? Okay. So then number 8, this item will be Villages at Pleasant River 2. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered speakers or comments received on item 8?
No speakers.
Okay, perfect. All right. So the board will now consider item 8.
Mr. Chairman, again, in my district, and I thank our P&Z Commission and our people working there. So I would like to move approval of item 8 in accordance with the commission recommendation as printed on the agenda, but with revised condition E-6 per the handout received this morning that requires a replacement easement as approved by McDOT along the eastern boundary of the site for access to neighboring properties.
All right, thank you for that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Galvin. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next, under Planning and Zoning Hearings, regular agenda 11, the Ville Apartment Townhomes. And this, as was mentioned earlier, the applicant has requested a continuance to the January 25th, 2023 formal meeting. The board will now consider item 11.
Mr. Chairman, once again, everyone can see that District 4 is growing, and we do a lot of work with this. I do not need the P&Z staff to come up and explain this. The applicant has requested case Z20222068 be continued to allow additional time to review and evaluate community feedback. It is my hope the neighbors and applicant can work on density and a design they both agree on. Staff supports the continuance, therefore I move continuance of item 11 to the January 25th board hearing in order to purchase some more time.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments on this item?
No, Chairman, we have none.
Okay, perfect. All right. A motion to continue. It has been seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Under statutory hearings, we have clerk of the board, 12, liquor license application, A, location and owner transfer for the venue at Farnsworth Hall. 12B, new license for Rams Market. 13, petitions hearing for the formation of the proposed Don Joe Acres Irrigation Water Delivery District. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered speakers or comments received on items 12A, 12B, or 13?
Yeah, Supervisors, Chairmen, we have none.
Okay, great. Then the board will now consider item 12A, 12B, and item 13.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 12 and 13.
Thank you, Supervisor Sellers. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Galvin. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Continuing under statutory hearings, Transportation 14A, road file number A714B, road file number A715, 15, patent easement abandonment, road file number PAB-0170. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered speakers or comments received on items 14 or 15?
Supervisors, Chairman, we have none.
Okay. Thank you. The board will now consider items 14A and B and 15.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items number 14 and 15.
Thank you, Supervisor Gallardo. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Sellers. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Under county officers, we have clerk of the board, 16, special event license for Southwest Wildlife Conservation Center. Under the county attorney, we have 17, appointments and O's, 18, MOU with Maricopa County Department of Public Health, 19, budget adjustment for the felony pretrial intervention program, 20, amend competition and practicable contracts for SAGE Counseling and Avert Test, LLC. So we do have a speaker on item 18. So do we want to make a motion? Do we want to pull 18 out and then do a motion on the other items?
Yes, I guess we can.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of item 16, 17, 19, and 20.
Second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll move to number 18, and we do have a speaker on 18, And I'll just let everyone know now, throughout this meeting, you will be allowed 2 minutes to speak. You must stay on the topic. If you go off the topic, then I will direct you back to the topic. If you're speaking at the end at public comment, you can talk about whatever topic you wish to. So on 18, the comments need to be focused on the MOU with Maricopa County Department of Public Health. We do have one speaker, Diane Barker. You'll see there's a clock here that will start ticking down. That when there's 15 seconds left, there'll be a little chime so you know to wrap it up. And at 2 minutes, you're done. So everyone, it's the same rules for everyone. Everyone gets 2 minutes to speak. Is Diane Barker here?
I don't see her.
Uh-oh. You do have to be here to speak, though. Although you could do it remotely.
Let's see.
Is that her? No.
Nope.
Okay, well, unfortunately, Ms. Barker is not here to speak, and so I would entertain a motion on item 18.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve item number 18.
Thank you, Supervisor Galvin. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hickman. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next, under the sheriff, we have 21, amends sub-agreement from Arizona Department of Homeland Security. 22, appropriation adjustment for the school safety pilot program. 23, MOU with Arizona Department of Public Safety. 24 and 25, overtime funding from the U.S. Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigations. 26, rescind and replace MOU with the United States Department of Agriculture. 27, license for use of space with Rio Verde Fire District. 28 through 30, additions and one-time additions to the fleet. The board will now consider items 21 through 30.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 21 through 30.
Thank you, Supervisor Sellers. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hickman. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Under the judicial branch, we have adult probation, 31 additions to fleet. The board will now consider item 31.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve item number 31.
Thanks for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, under county management, we have Assistant County Manager Leanne Bone, 32, American Rescue Plan Act, that's ARPA, expenditure approval and budget adjustment. The board will now consider item 32.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of item number 32.
Thank you, Supervisor Gallardo. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Galvin. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Under county offices, we have Environmental Services, 33, the Board of Health fee waiver reimbursement. Equipment Services, 34 through 35, vehicle transfers. Finance, 36, funds transfers warrants. Under Human Resources, 37, market ranges, 38, exception to the vacation carryover limit. The board will now consider items 33 through 38.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 33 through 38.
Thank you, Supervisor Sellers. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Gallardo. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Now under Human Services, we have 39 through 42. Amend IGA agreements with Town of Gila Bend, Mesa Unified School District, Arizona Community Action Association, Arizona Department of Housing. 43, accept grant funds from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. 44, rescind action and replace amendment to IGA with the City of Chandler. The board will now consider items 39 through 44.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 39 through 44.
Second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Now under Parks and Recreation, we have 45, amend use management agreement with Junior National Foundation. 46, amend the Estrella Mountain Regional Park Master Plan. 47, amend the license agreement for use of real property at Usery Mountain Regional Park. 48, purchase agreement and escrow instructions. 49, contract with SRP for Santan Mountain Regional Park. The board will now consider items 45 through 49.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 45 through 49.
Thank you, Supervisor Sellers.
Second with a comment, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you for the second, Vice Chair Hickman, please.
Oh, I just wanted to thank RJ Carden on number 46. Going back a couple years, this golf course was in trouble, and it's at the entryway of an important community for Supervisor Gallardo and myself, Estrella Mountain, and I just want to thank him for the work, because we are seeing an unbelievable chance for a public-private partnership where now they're investing so much that now junior golfers will be able to utilize this area, and we don't know. This might entice junior Olympians to come and play golf right here in both of our districts. So thank you, RJ. This is really becoming a bright spot for the county.
Thank you for those comments, Vice Chair. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Under Procurement Services, 50 through 52, approve contracts for asphalt service and repair, temporary medical personnel, recycling services. Under Public Health, 53 through 54, purchase orders with the Arizona Department of Health Services. 55, agreement with Peoria Unified School District. 56, opioid settlement fund expenditure. 57, contract with community outreach engagement. 58, contract for community advisory boards. The board will now consider items 50 through 58.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve items 50 through 58.
Thank you, Supervisor Galvin. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Sellers. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Under Real Estate, 59, agreement with American Medical Response of Maricopa, LLC. Under Transportation, 60, agreement with Recreation Centers of Sun City West, Inc. 61, easement, right-of-way, and relocation assistance documents. 62, agreement with Sunstream PVS, LLC. The board will now consider items 59 through 62.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of item 59 through 62.
Thank you, Supervisor Gallardo. Do we have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hickman. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Under setting of hearings, we have Clerk of the Board, 63. Setting of hearing for submitted petitions to form Janet Rose Irrigation Water Delivery District. Planning and Development, 64, Planning and Zoning cases. Under Transportation, 65, Patent Easement Abandonment, Road File Number PAB-0215. 66, Patent Easement Abandonment, Road File Number PAB-0214. The board will now consider items 63 through 66.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 63 through 66.
Second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Now we move to the consent agenda, 67 through 68. Cancellation of election and approval of appointments is listed on the agenda. 69, duplicate warrants. 70, stale dated warrants. 71, Maricopa County Head Start Program Report. 72, minutes. 73, secured, unsecured tax roll corrections. 74, donations. The board will now consider items 67 through 74.
Move to approve items 67 through 74, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oof. I'm going to give that to Supervisor Gallardo. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll move to the Board of Supervisors addendum under the county attorney. We have 75, quarterly RICO expenditure application. 76, initiate litigation regarding public records request to the Arizona Attorney General's office. The board will now consider items 75 and 76.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve items 75 and 76.
Thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you for the second. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now, the Board of Supervisors, we sit as a Board of Supervisors, but we also sit as Board of Directors for various entities, and we're going to move into that part of the meeting now. We're going to recess as the Board of Supervisors, and we're going to convene as the Flood Control District Board of Directors. Under the Flood Control District, we have 77, amend license agreement with the Usery Mountain Regional Park. 78 through 80, we approve IGAs with Town of Fountain Hills, City of Litchfield Park. 81, approve change order contract for Vineyard FRS Rehabilitation Project. 82 minutes, 83 easement right-of-way and relocation assistance documents. The board will now consider item 77 through 83.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval, items 77 through 83, but I just want to check the agenda and what's written in the agenda. In my agenda, it's been scratched out, but it says that this Usery Mountain Regional Park is in District 4, and I would love to have it, but it's actually in District 2.
That is accurate.
I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go. And we'll make sure that the record so reflects. Thank you.
Yep.
Reading the fine print there. Well done, Vice Chair. Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. You
make a
tried to
motion and a
second.
second.
Yeah.
I was
all
trying
right.
to get it.
All right. Thank you very much, Supervisor Galvin. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll adjourn as the Flood Control District Board of Directors, and we'll convene as the Library District Board of Directors. We have 84 through 85 donations and 86 minutes. The board will now consider items 84 through 86.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items 84, 85, and 86.
Thank you, Supervisor Sellers. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hickman. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Now we will adjourn as the Library District Board of Directors, and we will convene as the Stadium District Board of Directors. We have one item, 87 minutes. The board will now consider item 87.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of item number 87.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Now we will adjourn as the Stadium District Board of Directors, and we will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors. So this is now the time. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Those of you who are here for public comment, we're now going to move into the public comment. And just, I talked a little bit about how we're going to run this, but I just want to make sure everyone understands how this is going to run. This is pursuant to open meeting law. Public comment is provided at the discretion of the chairman. I believe that it is important that we hear the comments from people who would like to speak today, so I've chosen to put this on the agenda. When your name is announced, we ask that you come to the podium and that you state your name and that you identify the issue that you want to address, so we're aware of that. You will be given 2 minutes to speak, as I mentioned before. You'll hear that 15-minute chime, and when you hit 0, I will say you're done. Okay, we're not going to have a negotiation on how much time there is. You're going to be done, and that's it. Again, everyone's going to be treated the same. Everyone will have the same amount of time. We want to have the opportunity to hear what everyone is saying. My colleagues want to hear what everyone is saying, and if I'm talking on top of you or you're talking on top of me, they can't hear the important things that you've come here to say. As we get into this, we may start saying kind of the same things that have been said by previous speakers. So if you have new things to say, I would use your 2 minutes maybe to discuss new issues, things that haven't been raised already, so that it's not the same things over and over again. But that's your right if you want to just say what's been said before. But I'm giving you a little advice on what might be the most helpful as you do that. It is important for you all to know that under open meeting law, my colleagues and I on the Board of Supervisors here, we're not going to be responding to your comments. We're going to be listening closely. We may be taking notes. We may direct the county manager, Joy Rich, to follow up on something. But we're not going to be engaging with you. So if we're silent, don't take it as that we're agreeing with you, disagreeing, whatever. This is your time to speak, and that's how this has all been set up. So again, I'm just going to say this right now. We have children watching this, so please no profanity. At other bodies, at other bodies in this, other elected bodies in this state, they allow profanity to go on. I don't. And I know this crowd's not going to do that. So please, if you do that, I'm going to remind you, and we're just going to move forward. Let's try and avoid that. At this point, we have a number of folks who would like to speak, so we're going to close that now to any new speakers. So again, if you've had time to fill these out, and we've got a lot of them here, I'm very grateful. My colleagues are very grateful that you have decided to join us. We don't yield time. You don't get up for 10 seconds and yield it to someone else. Everyone gets 2 minutes. So,
Mr. Chairman,
so that's how it works. Yes, Supervisor Galvin.
Would it be okay if you called 2 names up at a time so people would know that they're next to speak, so we can help people?
Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. So that's what I'll do. I will ask 2 to come up at a time. We'll come up right here, just by the fire alarm there. So the first one will go up and the second one. So we'll have the 2 come up, and we'll just call 2 up at a time to move things along. That's a great suggestion, Supervisor Galvin. So with that, our first speaker, top of the list here, is Diane Barker. Sorry, Diane, we missed you on the previous item. You weren't here. We called your name, but very pleased that you're here to speak on public comment.
Well, thank you, Chairman Gates and Board of Supervisors, County Manager, and Clerk. I mean, you're all here.
Diane, I'm really sorry to interrupt you. Let's put her back to 2 minutes. I've just informed we've lost the YouTube feed. I want to confirm that because we want to make sure that those people who are watching at home know what's going on. And I hoped that I wasn't going to have to say this, but part and parcel of everything I was saying is that we're not going to have any outbursts, okay? We're not going to laugh. We're not going to clap. We're going to comment and move on to the next person, and that is going to be strictly enforced. It's important to us that the people who are watching from home can see this, and so we want to make sure that they're seeing it, and as soon as we do, we'll start with Diane Barker. So thanks for your patience, Diane.
Okay. Well, I remember in life, never lose, da-da! So I want to say hello.
Okay, so Diane, no, we're still trying to confirm the status of the YouTube. So if I want people to hear the benefit.
So I can't speak? Would you like me to dance? I would prefer that.
Not a bad idea.
No.
Okay, all right.
Shoot, Still got it. Okay, so this is a time of silence.
It is. We're asking for everyone's patience. We want to make sure that our folks in all parts of Maricopa County or even beyond Maricopa County who are watching at home can see this.
Right.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman? I just want to remind you that I chair a meeting at the Maricopa Association of Governments. It starts at 11:30, so I have a hard stop shortly after 11 o'clock.
Thank you very much for reminding me of that, Supervisor Sellers.
Mr. Chairman, they're going to go ahead and stop the broadcast as well as the recording and then restart it. It appears to just be buffering, so if you'll give us a couple of minutes, we can hopefully get back to normal.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for everyone's patience. So I understand that some people are turning in slips. We did close the time for public speakers, so we have quite a few here already. Just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that I'd made that announcement previously.
Will the link still be the same, or does he need a new link to the video?
So my understanding is it would be the same link. If there is a different link, we will let you all know.
Here comes Jordan.
Okay, we've not been able to get the YouTube up, but this meeting is being recorded, and we will post it as soon as this meeting is over. So our apologies to people who are attempting to live stream this, and thanks for your patience. And with that, we'll go to Diane Barker, 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, good morning. My name's Diane Barker, and I do live in Maricopa County. I've been here for several decades. And it's nice to see that the Board of Supervisors and our county manager and the clerk is here. I think you hit the lottery when you got Jeff Fine in as the clerk of court. I was out talking with him, and I was honored that he wanted to have a picture with me. He's Air Force, and I come from an Air Force family, and he was really happy, but also he was surprised to understand that my father was a pilot in World War II, and he survived the B-26 Widowmaker 49 missions out of the 8th Air Force. And that particular regiment lost, the most pilots and aircraft. So anyway, not only that, but he's had this background in JP. I finished a mediating course with the Attorney General's office, and I had to give back 17 free mediations. And it was a good fit for me because I came from real estate. So he has that background, he has the military, he has police background, and now he's over here, and the courts really need a lot of help. and I really hope that he will do a super job. And in regards to that pilot diversion course, for the opiates, yes, to try to keep the family together, I shared, with Mr. Fine, I said that I really like to see people get into some physical fitness and a family thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diane Barker. Now I'll call up two speakers, Karen Gresham and Ann Wallach. And Ms. Gresham, you may speak first.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Karen Gresham. I'm a Phoenix resident. I believe I'm in District 3 for the Board of Supervisors. I just want to come and thank all of you, the board, all the election workers, especially the poll workers. I've been a poll observer for many election cycles now. They are always very professional, make sure that everything is done properly and efficiently. And I've also observed at the County Elections Tabulation Center, and it's very interesting to learn all that goes on and how everyone works really hard. They work around the clock to ensure that we have a safe and secure election. So I just wanted to thank them and thank all of you, and we appreciate all of your efforts. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Ann Wallach.
Good morning, supervisors. I was county chair of the Democratic Party from 2009 to 2012. And at the time, the Democratic Party had very few elected officials. I was told that the Republicans were engaging in dastardly schemes to cheat us, that elections weren't fair, there was voter suppression, and that minorities were disenfranchised. So with that background, I was very suspicious when I entered that job as county chair. But as I became familiar with the systems and got to know Helen Purcell, Karen Osborne, and Ray Valenzuela, I realized that Maricopa indeed had a very good system. Maricopa has dedicated employees who work hard to ensure that elections are fair. They follow the procedures and the timelines that are put into place by the state legislators. And if there are people who are unhappy with our present system, I suggest that they take a look at the legislature and see if there's action taken there that they don't like. The advent of vote by mail has made voting easier and more accessible to many people. It doesn't make it easier for people to cheat, as many have claimed. And in fact—
Okay, again, no outbursts, please.
I don't believe that there is a concerted effort by Republicans to cheat. There may be efforts to influence voters that stretch the bounds of appropriateness. But we're all Americans, and I think we all want to win fair and square. The post-election count has always taken about 2 weeks. It's just that Republicans have enjoyed winning by such large margins that no one has ever paid attention to the post-election work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, now we will call up, and I do apologize on this name, Anita Gregolinski. I apologize. And then Daly? Is there a Daly? Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, your name is?
Betty Daly.
Betty Daly, thank you. Oh, I see Betty. My apologies. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Anita Gregolinski. I'm a Phoenix resident. I was hired as a poll worker to work Monday and Tuesday during election week. I went through poll worker training where I almost got escorted out of training because I questioned the idea of people dropping off more than their one ballot or their family's ballots. When I was told, you may not ask, this is our policy, you may not ask, if these ballots you are dropping off, which are multiple ballots, are your family members or these people are under your care, you may not ask. I questioned that, and I was told I was being disruptive and almost escorted out of class. So I said, okay, I'll be a poll worker, so I'm not gonna ask any more questions. We went and set up on a Sunday for 3 hours at the church that I was working. Then we worked all day Monday, and all the techs were there. Maricopa County employees were there setting everything up to make sure everything worked. Monday went off fine. Tuesday morning comes, we have a whole mass of people waiting to get in at 6 a.m. We, as poll workers, got there at 5:30. I was a clerk checking people in, making sure they had proper ID, and I saw many anomalies. I saw that we were trained that if somebody wants to change their address and they have an ID and another document to confirm the address, they get a they get a ballot. But some people were given provisionals instead. So I questioned that, and the woman from county, I forgot her name, said, no, this is how we do it. And I said, that is not what we were taught in class. And then within half an hour, by 6:30, when everyone had filled out their ballots, many people, 2/3 of the people were bringing in their mail-in ballots to vote in person. So their votes could be tabulated that day.
Your time is up. Thank you very much.
I got fired. And when I
Thank
asked
you. I'm
why
sorry,
I got
your time
fired,
is up.
I was told I didn't have to have a reason.
Ma'am, your time
to get
is up.
fired.
Thank you. No, we are not going to do, we're not going to clap. We're not going to have clapping and cheering. I understand we need to move this along. Please sit down, ma'am. Betty Daly?
My name is Betty Daly, and I was a poll worker also. I was a judge. Can't hear me. I just came up to say that there were many problems with the tabulators and the way people were signed in on the computers. I just wanted to say, according to the 600-page manual, there were many election errors, anomalies, whatever, I can't say the word, shenanigans. And if you just read the election book, if you just go through the pages, that this election needs to be nullified because of the problems, and it takes far less than what occurred at the election polls. So read the manuals, that's all it takes.
Thank you very much for coming and speaking today. The next two speakers will be Sandy Haller and Scott Miller. If you could please join us. And if Sandy Haller is here, if Sandy wants to go first. Do we have Sandy Haller? Okay, I'll put that aside in case she comes later. So Scott Miller, thank you for coming. Please come to the, okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Hello, my name is Scott Miller. I live in District 4. I also was a poll worker, a judge at Journey Church. The issues that were just talked about were the same thing happened at our location. Tabulator did not work 30% of the time. I sent an email to you, Mr. Hickman, last week about this issue, but the primary issue I'm going to talk about was there was a woman there born in 1947 in Nebraska. She came to vote. She got her ballot. It was just a federal ballot. So when she called me and asked, I was a judge, she called me and asked, why am I getting just this federal ballot? She showed me her license. She had moved from Glendale, where she lived for 30 years, to Peoria. I called the hotline, the election hotline, and the hotline told me that she had not established citizenship until November 4th in Peoria. Born in 1947 in Nebraska, lived 30 years in Glendale. So this is a terrible situation where she didn't get to vote for anything but federal, nothing about the state. And that, to me, needs to be looked into, why citizenship is not established when you change cities. It's when you're born. That's it.
Thank you very much for coming and testifying and providing that information. Next two, we'll have Raquel Cantesi and John Chadwick, please. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Raquel Contachesi. I'm also a fourth-generation Arizonan, which I know we're a little rare, but I know this state, love this state. So Chairman Bill Gates and Recorder Richer, you both have lost all credibility and any shred of integrity to conduct free,
Again,
fair,
we're no outbursts,
free,
please.
fair, and transparent elections here in Maricopa County. when you both opened in 2021 a political action committee to specifically defeat MAGA candidates. That actually was almost our whole ballot for this primary from the Republican Party. So if you think that the public should believe the false narrative of well-run, fair, transparent elections and outcomes, you're sorely mistaken. That's not just a conflict of interest. It's a specific agenda and a pre-bias going into it. So you, at the very least, should have recused yourself from any part of this election, having opened that in 2021. If Florida has 12.4 million more people who live in it than Maricopa or Arizona in general, and they can count their ballots in 5 hours under hurricane watch, and we are on day 9, we've got problems that we need to address. This is why the public here, you don't like people questioning and you want us to have faith. We don't. There are problems that need to be addressed, systemically addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next, again, please, John Chadwick.
Hi, my name is John Chadwick. I'm a native. And I had 2 questions that have to do with Stephen Ricker's office. Number one, why were there ballots were 19-inch in inventory that were probably sent to Republican locations that jammed the machines when he knew that it took 20-inch? Why were the 19-inch ballots in inventory? And the other question is, I had addressed a letter to Ricker's office about Zuckerbucks. Wanted to know if he got any and where they went. And I've got the letter. So it's some time ago. He didn't answer it. So I'd like to see if we can get an answer, the citizens can get an answer. What came into that office in Zuckerbucks and where it went? And also, the other thing I wanted to say, that if this board can't get the election integrity correct, the public opinion of Arizona will do it for you.
Thank you very much for your time. Again, please, no outbursts. Sheila Roberts and Robert Canterbury, please.
Hi, my name is Sheila Roberts. I'm from Phoenix.
Good morning.
I'm pretty frustrated, so I apologize for my voice.
No apology necessary.
I just want to tell you that I'm here to talk about transparency and truth, and I want to look each and one of you in the eyes. I've served this city for 30 years. I woke up, I was a great employee, saving lives, going out there risking my life, and trusting that all you people that have been elected by the people would do the truth, would do everything in your power to represent us fairly and the way we want to be represented. For the 30 years I got up, I wasn't paying attention. But you know what? These past 2 years, I've been paying attention to you guys. I've been looking to you guys online, and you need to make sure you're accurately who you are and who you are representing. If you're representing the Republicans, first of all, you're representing Arizona and America, and you sworn into office, just as I did. And I'm just disgusted by your behaviors and your decisions that you've made. And look at all these people out here who are just suffering so badly because of your falsehoods, let's just say. These past 2 years, I've been more involved. I've worked the last election in the primary. I've sacrificed 2 of my years since I've been retired. Anyway, I've been focusing on just protecting these people from Arizona and standing up for my people. Anyway, I've worked the 12 days as a marshal in the primaries, and on election day, I worked as a marshal, and I can tell you that 80% of those people that came to vote their time voted Republican and voted for America First candidates because they want to protect this country and this state. And to say that the results are the way they are, I please, I beg of you, please, think about what you're doing. Please represent all of us in honesty and integrity, and make sure all these people's votes count. They came out on election day to vote and took their time out and to be shut down.
Thank you very much for serving as a poll worker. Okay. All right, Robert Canterbury, please.
Good morning. My name is Robert Canterbury. I'm a resident of District 4. I'm also a 20-year Navy veteran, former counterterrorism officer at Navy SEAL team. and the former head of security for President Trump's campaign headquarters in Arlington, Virginia. Everybody in this room, we know your feelings about this election, about the 2020 election is a sham. Let's just call it what it is. We know this because after making Maricopa County the laughingstock of the nation after the 2020 election, you did absolutely nothing to make sure that we weren't the laughingstock after this election. Simple things like see if the ballot paper was correct, ink was dark enough, tabulators were in correct working order. All these things you failed to do. If you care about the people of Maricopa County, you would have challenged Katie Hobbs for turning down $9 million of federal money for the 2020 election, but instead you accepted $3 million of Mark Zuckerberg money. Or you have challenged Katie Hobbs when she didn't recuse herself for overseeing this election. President Trump announced last night that he'll be running in the 2024 election, and now everybody in Maricopa County will be wondering how the Board of Supervisors will cost Arizona and the nation another election. How many disenfranchised voters that couldn't vote in this year's election won't vote in the 24 election because they know that the same people who were in charge of the last two elections will be in charge of that election. The incompetence of this board is the exact reason why I'm an official candidate to replace Mr. Clint Hickman in District 4 in 2024.
No, please stop. Thank you very much. All right, the next two speakers are Martine Casada and Sarah O'Neill. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Martin Quesada. I currently serve the people of Maryville and Glendale in Legislative District 29 as their state senator, and I was recently a candidate for statewide office to be the state treasurer. I've been on the ballot, Mr. Chairman and members, for the past for 14 elections, 7 primaries, 7 generals, and I have seen that I've won some of them and I've lost some of them, some of those elections. And I have seen this county administer those elections, and I've seen the way that things have happened in these elections often, and I've watched very closely the way things have happened at the ballot box in the early elections and in the way that these elections have been counted and administered. And I can tell you that there are times when I've been frustrated. There's been times when I've not liked the outcome of the elections. But throughout all of that, I have seen and I have studied and I've watched closely, and I've seen that these elections have been administered fairly. They've been administered efficiently, they've been administered justly, and they've been administered with professionalism. And so I'm here to thank you as a board, thank you as a county, to thank your recorder, and to thank your workers, and to thank everyone who's been involved in the administration of these elections for the outcome of these elections. And I can tell you that I know that even when the outcomes of those elections don't go the way that I had hoped they had gone, I know and I have watched and I can see that I can understand that the administration of those elections have been done with professionalism, and I want to thank you for the way that you've administered those. It is popular to challenge the results when you don't like the outcomes, and this is one instance when I didn't like the outcome.
Excuse me, there's 5 seconds left.
This is
Go
one
ahead,
instance,
you have 5
sir,
seconds.
when I didn't like the outcome, but I'm still confident that you've done your jobs well, and I thank you for the work that you've done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker.
Pretty good, right?
Okay, again, we need to stop. I'm watching the clock. We need to stop the outbursts. You guys are doing a great job, but let's just keep it the way we are. Let's allow everyone to hear one another. It's very important. Sarah O'Neill.
Yes, good morning. My name is Sarah O'Neill. I've been an Arizona resident for the past 3 years. I was a poll watcher for both the primaries and the midterms, and I wanted to relay my observations with no commentary or accusation. the door number 3 debacle. When I checked in, I was the afternoon and evening and closing poll watcher. I did confirm that our tabulators were cleared. They were all zeros, but I also did confirm that there was no instruction for inspecting to ensure the door 3 or the slot 3 was empty. So no one, not a poll worker, not a poll watcher, inspected to make sure it was empty. And the reason that's a point is at the end of the day, we were asked to report the number of voters checked in, the number of ballots that we're transporting, and of those number of ballots, how many were door number 3. We had 1,218 ballots. We had only 1,018 voters that checked in. So, and we had, of those 1,218 ballots, 406 were door number 3. Our rejection rate, which I confirmed with my Democrat poll watcher counterpart, I thought it was maybe 75% at least. He said, oh no, it's at least 90% rejection rate. The 17,000 number that has been publicized as door number 3 ballots is far understated. We were there. We were there. The discrepancy in the number of physical ballots that I had, they came from somewhere. We had physically had them. They were not voters that walked in and checked in. We had 200 more ballots than voters that checked in. And I just want that to be on the record.
Thank you. All right, the next 2 speakers are Patricia Mead and Chris Hamlet, please. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Patricia Mead. I've lived in Arizona. Well, I was raised here and I moved back in the 90s. And I am in District 3, Bill Gates. So, first of all, I did work as a poll worker. I filed my observations elsewhere. First, I'm curious why I cannot find your agenda on the website. Maybe that's why more people aren't talking on some of these issues. Second, after running out of paper in the 2020 election and in another county in the 22 mid-primary, I find it curious that our Republican poll centers seem to run out low on toner with their printers and probably affected the tabulation. After receiving a 17% raise after the 2020 election, and due to receiving a 41% raise starting in January 1st of 2025, I'm having trouble understanding what the Board of Supervisors has done to deserve such a raise. I'm done.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Chris Hamlet.
How you doing? My name is Chris Hamlet. I'm an 82nd Airborne veteran. Ran for the Mesa School Board this last election. While I was electioneering at the polling places, of course, past the 75-foot mark, I was at a conservative church called Central Christian Church on Lindsay Road in Mesa. Within the first half an hour, both tabulators are down. We had a very small line there. All of a sudden, it's about a half a mile long. Then one gentleman came out and he was hooping and hollering, so everybody just said, you know what, we're done here, and they all left. That was by design to discourage voters. People left there. I literally went up to a liberal church 2 minutes up the road and was out of there in 20 minutes. You're giving the appearance of fraud. It looks like fraud. It looks like 2020. It looks like an instant replay. There's no other way to do this but to have another election, to completely scrap this. It's absurd to continue this charade and think that we are going to have anything less than tainted results when you're done. How are we going to ever trust the elections? We go this long and you think it's going to work, you must scrub the whole thing, have a new one, one day, paper ballots, counted by the end of the day, and call it done. It needs to be done completely over again. It's convenient that YouTube is down today. You guys have a lot of tricks up your sleeve. It's very convenient. Now that I've got a little time left, I want to talk about the 2020 election. When you guys all left out of this room, you locked the media out. Then they came in just long enough for the last half an hour in order for you to grandstand. Mostly you, Mr. Gallardo. So Mr. Gates, Mr. Gallardo, you are the most corrupt man on this board. This entire board is corrupt. You need to be replaced. You should not be representing us. You know it. I know it, and the American people know it. We're done with your nonsense. It's time to get some real men in here. This is the epitome of weak, corrupt men. You 5 up here. God bless you. Have a good day.
Mr. Baker, I thank you for your service. Our next speakers are,
Mr. Hamlet.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hamlin. Okay, we have, let's see, that was Hamlet. So Matt Baker, is Matt Baker spoken? No, Matt Baker and Kimberly Burleson. Mr. Baker?
Good morning. Once again, the eyes of the world are upon Maricopa County for another botched election. Am I here to accuse you of stealing the vote? Heavens no, for that would make me a terrorist, wouldn't it? Let me ask you, if you took your life savings to a bank and the teller put them in a machine and the machine kicked out 1 out of 4 of your bills and the teller said, don't worry, we'll put them in box 3 over here and we'll let you know how many were in there later. We'll send them off to a separate location and someone will be sure to get back to you and tell you how much money you have. Would you be okay with that? No, you would not be okay with that. Now ask yourself the question, which is more valuable, your vote or your money? Now ask a lobbyist that same question. Now ask a campaign manager that question. Now ask Mark Zuckerberg that question, which is more valuable, your money or your vote or your country or this world or the corruption that is taking over every single county in this nation? And then you look into your own soul and you look back at yourself in the mirror and realize that you are the cancer that is tearing this nation apart. Good day.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kimberly Burleson.
Okay, my name is Kimberly Burleson. I'm a native of Arizona and been voting in elections ever since I turned 18. Do my part, do my research, vote for who I think should be good. Now, I'm coming at this from a little bit different standpoint. I really appreciate you opening comments because last time in 2020, you shut us all out and wouldn't listen to them. And you definitely did not respond to any of the emails I gave you. I don't think you responded to anybody. So you really shut us out. This year we had eyes on everything and everybody's watching everything. And that's why you have everybody standing up. I come at this from a little bit different perspective because I think you guys have put 100% trust, blindfold trust into the people, the fox that's guarding the chicken house. You have an office for them in the Maricopa County office. And they're the ones that set the machines. They're the ones that program everything. And as a former programmer myself, I can tell you there's no such thing as a glitch. Those things are done, the machines are programmed the way they're told to do it. The printer, or the scanner, when I was there, I asked the poll worker what was causing it to kick out. And they said, oh, well, it's because your bubble's not filled in enough, or it might have too many excess on the outside. I'm looking at my thing and I'm thinking, wow, who changed the settings on it? Because last time, they were wildly, the box was huge that you could scribble in and it still be accepted. And hardly any part of it being filled in. So somebody set those machines that way. Then the same thing happened in last election in the one we just had right before. My husband's vote didn't even count because there was a glitch on the district changing and they printed him out the wrong district ballot. So what did they do? They spoiled it and gave him a provisional.
Your time is up. Thank you so much for coming today. Next, we have Barbara Jennings and Michelle Dillard, please.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Jennings.
District 3, Bill Gates, you are my representative, and I have called and left you messages after the 2020 election. After the 2020 election, I think we all woke up because we all saw that it just didn't make sense. So yeah, I helped out in the audit. All these great people out here volunteered their time because they love this state and they love this country. And we pay your salaries here to represent us, and you're not representing us. It's horrible what has happened. Nobody trusts. So I did. I volunteered at the audit. When you have 30,000 illegal ballots counted, 200,000 ballots that had to be adjudicated, then the UOCAVA ballots. Here we had a veteran today speaking, and everybody's honoring the vets. Is that how you honor vets, with their votes that are on a piece of copy paper? Because that's what they were on. And they had no ballot number on there, no chain of custody. So everybody, including mainstream media, who sat there and called it a fraud, that was a complete lie. There was major problems in our 2020 election that didn't get fixed and went unchecked and was lied by the mainstream media, who actually called our election before the count was done. And then here we have Fox News, right? 2022, they called Katie Hobbs before Carrie Lake, even before the election took place. But we're supposed to believe that we have free and fair elections here and that we have honest media. Both we do not have, and we count on you. We pay your salaries to do your job. I worked as a poll worker in August, and also in November. In August, we did run out of toner, which created a long line. So this time, before when we were setting up, I was like, we gotta have enough toner so we don't create long lines. Well, again, ran out of toner, and then our tabulator was spitting out the ballots.
Your time is up, Ms. Jennings. Thank you so much for volunteering and working on that. This is Ms. Dillard. Thank you for joining us.
My name is Michelle Dillard, and I don't want to repeat things that everybody said, so I'll just say that I concur with everybody that spoke except for the first two people and Senator Quesada. Now, you all know it's not anything that has to be proven. You've admitted it, and also Stephen Richer has admitted that there has been gross misconduct during this election. And for that, you cannot certify the results, period. I mean, that's just a fact. We don't have to sit up here and prove case by case, although we could. I have heard two separate reports from the same polling location that they took the box 3 ballots and they didn't use the blue boxes like they're required to according to procedure in the manual. They ran out of space and they put them in trash bags with a zip tie. So chain of custody is no good. To say that there were only 17,000 of those when it was at 70 locations, or 17,000, I apologize, it's probably closer to 70. That comes to less than 250 ballots per location that had a problem. And the problem existed from basically 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's less than 250 ballots per location. And you hear everybody telling you, including, I believe you, in your reports and interviews that you've given about the percentages. We can't accept these results. This is an illegitimate election. It is your job to provide the remedy. We want a secure, fair election. Make that happen. Thank you. Oh, also,
thank you.
You guys are over the county elections department, and I've had public records requests in there since June, and they're not getting back to me. I understand the law doesn't say a specific time amount. It does say promptly. I think since June is not prompt. Please address that also. Thank you.
We will, Ms. Rich, if we can look into that public records request from Ms. Dillard. The next two speakers are Jeff Zink and Jeff Caldwell, please.
Hi, my name is Jeff Zink. I'm also a Maricopa County resident. I'm also a congressional candidate for District 3 against Ruben Gallego that I ran. One of the things that I am trying to bring brought to attention is that we have media that's being excluded here. The America Voice and Gateway Pundit has not been allowed to be in here. Why? That's a great question for y'all to answer. The other is that I also worked the Arizona audit in 2020. The Arizona primary audit that a lot of people don't know. I've also worked 9 states in this country. The fraud that has been taking place is rampant, but this county alone, y'all in Georgia are fighting tooth and nail to be who's more corrupt. This is something that I feel like that we need to actually take control of. In my race alone, an algorithm took place which shows that at no time did I ever gain any ground whatsoever. Yet, in all of the exit polls and all the people that have been polled, 56% of the people exiting out of Maricopa County was Republicans on Election Day. Yet that does not reflect in any shape or form in my election. In fact, it is a linear line that is actually perpendicular to Ruben Gallegos. This is a farce. This election absolutely, along with the 2020, is no longer certifiable. This needs to be redone. We need ballots that are paper. It needs to be counted in one day. If Florida can count, which is twice our size, the amount with a hurricane, then we should be able to do it in one day as well. And the fact that we don't is a disgrace to not only the Arizonans that you're trying to represent, but what I'm also trying to represent.
Mr. Zink, your time is up. Thank you. Our next speaker, Mr. Caldwell. Good
Jeff
morning.
Caldwell, Vista Precinct Committeeman Captain. There were tens of thousands of disenfranchised voters on Election Day. Board Member Gates told voters to leave and go to another vote center if they were experiencing issues. This caused chaos. There were 2-hour wait times at some vote centers, and some vote centers shut down. If people left the vote center to go vote at a different location, those voters were not checked and voters were not checked out of the current vote center that they left. They arrived and were told they had already voted. And so what they had to do is either vote provisionally or drive back to the vote center that they just came from. This is a complete disaster. So how can we believe that these provisional ballots will count if the voter has already been registered as voting as at a previous location? There also is not a process to report how many voters checked in compared to the number of ballots delivered to MTech versus voter check-ins. The queue of the hotline for the election workers got to be over an hour long, and some of the workers lost connection because of waiting so long, just to learn how to check out a voter at a vote center. So this takes a worker away from the polling location and adds to the wait time for other voters at that same vote center. So how many voters did not have time for this? How many voters just said, screw it, I'm not doing this, and left and didn't even participate on Election Day? It's the last day to cast your vote. And then, finally, there are also families who were interested in moving to Arizona and are no longer interested because of this election. So Phoenix's bulk trash pickup is weeks behind, and it works better than this. How many tax dollars from the future did Bill Gates cost the state of Arizona?
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Next two speakers are Kathleen Falcon and Thomas Greiner, please. Ms. Falcon, thank you for joining us.
Greetings. My name is Kathleen Falcon. I've lived in Arizona since 1984, and from that date, Arizona has always been red, and I know it's still red. The 2020 election was red, but something happened, something unethical, and it seems to be recurring again. Although that's redundant, it is recurring. And why is nobody addressing the conflict of interest in regard to the governor's race? The Democratic candidate is in charge of the election, and guess what? Look, it's so close. She refused to even debate the Republican candidate. And I don't know if she had a rally. I know that the Republican candidate had many rallies and many people show up. There's something wrong here. You know, if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it is a duck. Yeah. So unfortunately, there's a lot of unethical behavior going on here, and you all will have to answer to a higher authority. It's just a matter of time.
Thank you for coming down today. Next, Mr. Greiner. Yes. Supervisor Sellers, we know you have important county business to go to. Thank you. Mr. Greiner, please.
I'm Tom Greiner and a resident of Maricopa County. This year, for the first time, I worked as a poll worker. I was impressed by the way the elections were conducted. As a Vietnam-era veteran, it makes me proud to realize that whether you're Republican or Democrat, and you and the Board of Supervisors are primarily Republican, you vote fairly and looked at these elections fairly. My work as a poll worker was a positive and rewarding experience. The poll workers were hardworking and the voters were pleasant. I greeted the people as they came in, and I was amazed at how many people thanked me for volunteering to work as a poll worker. They were so appreciative that we were there helping their vote be counted. Besides the enthusiastic voters that came in, I was impressed by the poll workers who were hardworking and were there early, ready to open the polls up and make things work. We were fortunate in the location I was at to have a steady but not overwhelming flow of voters all day. Some voters told me they had come to our location because they had noted that there were long lines elsewhere, and they noted that we did not have long lines. It appears that information that we put out every 15 minutes as to how many people were in line really did help people find a poll location that they wouldn't need to wait long at. That's a nice feature that we have now. Obviously, there was a great deal of planning that went into making this work. The poll workers, the election, the previous all went really well. I'm glad I was able to do my part to make Maricopa County elections a success, and I thank all of you, the Board of Supervisors, the County Recorder, the election workers.
Thank you, Mr. Greiner. Your time is up. All right, our next two speakers, Catherine Hopkins and John Laggett. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I wanted to let you know that I worked at the recorder's office during the election. About 6 months ago, there was a note on Twitter that said, "We need help." And I thought, I'm not doing anything. I'll go and help. And I always wondered how our elections worked. And I wound up working on the special election board. We went to anyone who was confined within Maricopa County, and we registered them, and we helped them vote. A Republican and a Democrat go together, and once the ballot is in our possession, we're not allowed to separate, and that's for the security of the person who is voting. Also, I was extremely impressed. I usually just mail my ballot in, and that's my vote. I was very impressed about the security of the ballots and how everything is handled internally. The Board of Supervisors runs the election, the recorder counts, the Secretary of State certifies the election. I had the most pleasant 6 months working for the recorder's office, and I enjoyed the work, and I was happy to see how our elections actually operate within the office, and the security of the ballots and the care that the people take, and the supervision. We had great training. We had 4 days of training, and we did forensic signature training. So when people's ballots came in on the envelopes, we would we just see their signatures. We don't know what party they're in, and we really don't care, to tell you the truth. We're just looking to make sure signatures match. If they don't match, we say exception, and they go to a manager's queue. So I enjoyed my time, and I'll probably go back in 2024. It was mentally stimulating for not having worked for so long. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for working in the recorder's office. Next, Mr. Leggett.
Good morning. My name is John Leggett. I'm a Phoenix resident. I have an affidavit I want to present to each of the members. Can I hand that to the clerk? I come here to represent my grandchildren. My children and my grandchildren. I don't want them coming to me asking me, Grandpa, what were you doing when this republic was taken down by corruption and fraud? I'm going to ask you a question. What is the motto of our state? Does anyone have an answer? The motto of our state? No question and answer. Ditat Deus, God and riches. We moved here from Massachusetts, the capital of corruption, to try to get free from that. I don't feel enriched right now. I feel betrayed. I feel discouraged. I feel abandoned by elected officials who can't screw up the courage to stand against whatever the unseen hand is that's offering blandishments and threats to our elected officials across this country. We are ground zero right here. We have had discussions about this. You've taken an oath of office, and we have been left in the lurch. John Adams said our Constitution was made for a moral people. It is wholly inadequate to govern any other. We have an immoral governance here in this county, and you are responsible. I'm sorry to say that I'm a Maricopa County resident. I think about where could I move? There is no other place. We're like the forces at Dunkirk. We're up against the English Channel. So I want you to understand one thing from the Bible. Beware, your sins will find you out. There are going to be some serious investigations. I would suggest that you get ahead of the curve, turn yourself over to state's evidence.
Your time is up, sir. Thank you for joining
Thank you,
us.
and come clean.
Next, we have Lizette Lent and Michael Schaefer. You want me to turn over anything? Yeah. All those, thank you. Yeah, all those things.
Hi, my name is Lisette Lent.
Good morning.
And I want to make sure each one of you are looking at me. I know you're probably dozing off, and the fact that Jack Sellers had more important county duties than to hear we the people speak today is pretty discouraging, but I'm not surprised. My grandparents moved us here, my family here, to the United States so that we could be a part of a republic and we could have a free and fair and honest election governed by the people. The fact that what is going on, I'm not going to restate everything that everybody has stated today with the voting machines, the toner. Come on, guys. It's like my friend said, it's Super Bowl and you weren't ready. The box 3 debacles, your utter incompetence is embarrassing, and it's made Arizona the poster child of ridicule and how not to manage an election. Not to mention your partisan relationship with the active Secretary of State, who's also the gubernatorial Democrat candidate. In fact, you know, Mr. Gates, you and Stephen Riker forming a political action committee to stop MAGA candidates is completely biased, and it's considered cheating. And the people of Arizona, we're not going to take it. The mama bears are not going to take it. We're going to stand up to you. There were hundreds and maybe even thousands of voters disenfranchised because of your failures and mismanagements of this election. You need to resign. You need to resign today. And I pray that God is going to convict your heart for what you've done, and I pray that you would speak the truth and you will do what's ethical and what's just. And let me just leave you with this. Proverbs 11:1 states, "The Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favor with him." The Lord knows what you've done.
Your time is up. Thank you. The next speaker, Michael Schaefer.
Thank you. Thank you for showing us exactly and specifically who you are and what you're about. It's clear as day to us. You have woken a sleeping giant, and we're not going to tolerate this. Furthermore, this is a notice for you all for notice of dereliction of duty and invalid acts. Ask that to be submitted to everyone. The elections were unlawful because the voting machines were not accredited in accordance with Arizona Statute 16-442 Bravo, which requires, in accordance with the HAVA Act, the voting machines must be properly certified by an accredited test lab, not a lab that had its accreditation expired. So that's under investigation, and that calls for the nullification of the entire election, the revote, and a hand count, because the machines can't be used. We all know it. We've all seen it. I was a poll marshal. I saw probably 50 to 75% of the ballots rejected and go into door 3. So we know what you did. You know what you've done, and God knows what you've done. I'd ask you to heed Commissioner O'Connor's original notification, my notification here today, my affidavit notifying you. You are all notified and on record that you've heard this before and after the elections. The only option is nullification, revote, and a hand count. Let me repeat so I'm clear: nullification, revote, and a hand count. I would ask you to confess and repent, and may the consequences of your actions be on your heads. I warn you and I caution you. We got a big God. In Jesus' name.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Again, if we can please keep decorum here. Nancy Schreiber, this was submitted online. I don't know. Do we have? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And then Sandy Holler. Is Sandy Holler here now? I had called for Sandy Holler earlier. She's not here. Okay, thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Schreiber, and I'm the chair of the Maricopa County Democratic Party. As chair of the party, I have statutory responsibilities that require me to be part of the election process at the Maricopa County Elections and Tabulation Center. The Republican and Democratic county party chairs take part in the logic and accuracy test at the beginning of the election cycle and the post-logic and accuracy test at the end. Both chairs are also responsible for providing daily observers during the election cycle at MCTEC and at vote centers around the county. Both the GOP and Dem county chairs also took part in the hand audit draw on Wednesday, November 9th, and the official hand audit on Saturday, November 12th. I was impressed with the professionalism of the staff on all of these occasions. They provide detailed explanations and are transparent about every step in the process. There are checks and balances on every step of a ballot's journey. I have the utmost respect for the staff of the Elections Department, whether it is ballot processing, signature verification, ballot tabulation, or adjudication. The staff mission is to ensure every vote on every ballot is fairly and accurately counted. The staff of the county elections deserve our respect and thanks for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Email it earlier as well, and then I handed it over.
What's your name, sir?
Ari Bradshaw.
Do we have that? I'm fine. You sent an email, and that's fine. We'll give you 2 minutes, Mr. Bradshaw.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let me go open up before we start the time, please. So, awesome. My name is Ari Bradshaw. I'm born and raised in Phoenix, and Thomas Galvin actually knocked on your door as a volunteer earlier this year, where I grew up in your neighborhood. And I just want to tell y'all, when 25% of all the voting centers in Maricopa County have issues in tabulation, and when Republican voting individuals show up by huge margins, I hope that the board is able to at least recognize that there is voter suppression, whether it's intentional or not, against a certain political party when there are not issues in the early voting process, but there are on Election Day, and there's an outsized impact of Republican voters on Election Day. Additionally, I want to ask if you guys can consider, would the media and would yourselves be covering this if it had favored a different party on Election Day rather than the Republican Party? I don't know, and I think that's something that should be asked. Supervisor Gates, I have respect for you, but you said that the votes would be 99% counted by Friday the 11th, and a few days later you said verbatim that the goalposts have shifted, and you have yet to acknowledge that this creates an immense distrust in our system, nor have you explained the reason for the shifting of the goalposts. I also encourage the board to consider ARS 16442B, which was aforementioned. I think it's very important. I don't know if the accreditation for these machines has been released. I would love to see it. I think that should be publicly accessible for us to see, for us to, as the public, be able to have trust in the system. We want to have trust in the system. We really do. Then board, I also ask that you consider the case of Antrim County in Michigan. In this instance, due to human intervention with the voting machines, the results in Antrim County flipped from one party to another, and this was only found when the people rose up and said, can you please do a hand count in this exact area where we think there were issues. I encourage you to read the Antrim County case. It's a very powerful case, and obviously it may have not happened here, but I think we should at least consider it. Basically, I want to ask, why did the printers not work? When were they tested? Who was present for the testing? Who was the vendor of the printers? And can we please have some clearness on the accreditation of the machines? I think that would add a lot of trust to the system. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bradshaw. This is the last speaker that I have. I don't have any other speakers. Is Andy Kanasik. Okay. Yeah.
It's not mine. So,
Mr. Kanasik, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for allowing me to be here, Mr. Chairman. And I do want to thank all of you, everyone here today, the Board of Supervisors, the County Recorder, all of the staff at Maricopa County that has worked, I think, so hard, and I believe, to develop processes that are fair and accessible to everybody. I think it's my, I know it's my belief that when history looks back on this moment, that you will all be recognized for your courageous public service and commitment to free and fair elections. Frankly, kind of, unfortunately, as a lifelong Republican, I'm troubled by some of the sentiment here today that I think is beyond sour grapes. I think it's actually destructive.
All right, I'm sorry, Mr. Kanasik. I'm going to ask you guys to be quiet. He was quiet during your remarks.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The delusions here, these people are so deluded that without any proof or serious consideration beyond the damage they do to our free and democratic republic is deeply concerning to me. I had a whole bunch of other thoughts that I wanted to share, but I think I want to end it with asking the good Lord that so many of us have prayed to, probably today and so often, for forgiveness for everybody, and I want everybody to come together and recognize the great blessings we have as Americans, and have faith in the institutions that were put together to assure all of our freedoms aren't taken away. So I'd love to gather with some of these people later and help them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kanasik. Okay, I'm just going to take a moment. If you can hold on, these have just been handed to me. Okay, great. We have Jonah Landry. All right, Jonah Landry, 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Jonah Landry. I'm 20 years old, and this past midterm will be the first time I voted in a second major election. It is an honor to be able to take part in such an integral part of our country, but nothing is more diminishing than feeling like your voice is not heard. And that's what I and many others feel right now. I am not here to attack anyone, but I am here to simply give a perspective that many of my peers and I feel. Many of you are probably here going to get complaints about insecurities with machines, ballot stuffing, week-long counting, and some of the members even of this board being in a coalition that was to prevent MAGA candidates. And though some of these arguments I agree with having some factor in the result of the elections, that is not what I'm here to talk about today. Today I'm here to talk about something that can't be chalked up to conspiracy theory rhetoric, but is a factual event that cannot be denied. Today, I'm here to talk about the errors that occurred in 20 to 30% of our voting machines. The delays that resulted from these errors extended lines around 60 to 90 minutes long. Now, normally, I would be upset about this, but wouldn't say it's election-changing issues if it were not for two factors. First is how close this election is. Our governor is being decided by a difference of 17,000 votes, and our attorney general by less than 1,000. The second factor is that a request to extend the poll was submitted, just like Pennsylvania when they had delays, but for some reason it was shot down. That is willful neglect. A lot of people here went to vote early because they had no time to vote after work, but delays did not allow them to vote in general without being late. When election day in-person votes average around 16% Democrats and these machine errors affected mainly red areas, we would have seen different results. I request that December 6th, Maricopa County holds a runoff election without these machines that caused the problems in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, please, no outbursts. And that's the last forum that I have. So again, I just want to thank everyone who came here today. I want to thank the civility I'm sorry, I don't have a form for you, ma'am.
I signed up online.
Did you receive an email back from the county? Or?
Check, but I signed up this morning.
Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and let you speak. Yeah. If you could just please announce your name.
Okay. Good morning, or I don't think we're morning anymore. My name is Shauna. I was an election clerk for the midterm election. On election day, we had several voters, come into our site reporting that they had already visited up to 3 separate voting locations where the printers and our machines were not working properly. Approximately 20% of the 223 voting centers in Maricopa County had issues. That is 1 in 5 locations where people were turned away due to utter incompetence. This is absolutely unacceptable. If Katie Hobbs cannot run an election, how can she possibly run a state? We the people don't want to hear more apologies from our leaders. We want accountability. What is accountability? Well, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it is an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. How can a person accept responsibility? Well, we have a lot of parents in the room, and any good parent knows that if a child does not meet expectations for, let's say, washing the dishes, then a good parent would hold them accountable and have them do the job over again and do it correctly. The Maricopa Board of Supervisors should not simply say, "My apologies." They should take ownership of the myriad of mistakes made on election day and make it right. If that means another election, then so be it.
Okay. Thank you very much. And again, I believe that's everyone. I just want to thank everybody for coming here. To me, this is what our democratic republic is all about, people coming and speaking, taking time out in the middle of the day to give us your views. Appreciate all of you who are veterans, and I appreciate all of you who worked at the polls, and thanks to everyone else for being here. Now at this point in the agenda, each one of us up here have the opportunity to speak to what's going on. If you'd like to leave, that's fine. We can wait a couple minutes, but if you'd like to stay, feel free to do that. So for those of you who'd like to leave, we'll give you a couple minutes just to leave the chamber. Wonderful. I wanted to give you that opportunity. All right. So we are now to the point where we have a discussion from the folks up here on the dais, and we will begin with our county manager, Joy Rich.
Nothing today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Supervisor Gallardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And once again, my apologies. I'm not wearing a tie. A little unable to. I have one hand. So it took me like an hour just to tie my shoes. But nonetheless, my apologies for not wearing a tie. Just want to thank, once again, everyone for coming out and voicing their opinions and thoughts about the election this past year. But I do want to state, I mean, I've been in that office. I started my adult career in the Maricopa County Elections Department. And I was there for 14 years before I decided to leave just around 2000. And wanted to enter public life as an elected official, and I have done so for since then as school board members, as a member of the legislature, and now here on the County Board of Supervisors. I know most of the folks, a good number of the folks that work there in the elections department. Many of them are friends. Republicans and Democrats. These are hardworking elections officials that give it their all. I've said this before, and these are little stories I continue to repeat. As an elections employee, there were many times where, particularly when it comes to maybe a month or so before the election, you'd work many hours. There were times I'd work 36 hours. You would be here in the office, and employees were coming back the next day to here at the county. You're still wearing the same clothes. And this is the dedication that all our elections employees, volunteers do every election cycle. They put their families and their private life and all their stuff they do outside of elections, they put that to the side and they focus and they dedicate just 100% of their time in making sure that everyone has an opportunity to cast a ballot. I believe they are hardworking folks. These are folks with such strong credibility. They're dedicated. And I can tell you, even when I was there, we didn't care if they're Republican, Democrat. You didn't even know who these voters were. You just wanted to make sure the system was safe, secure, and accurate. Now, technology has changed everything. We didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't have the computer and technologies that we had. But we were able to have a new way of voting, a new system. When Governor Jan Brewer, when HAVA was passed, I know someone mentioned HAVA. When HAVA was passed, Governor Brewer at the time, and I was someone on the other side of the aisle, a different political party. She did invite me to be part of the HAVA Standing Committee, where we looked at all these different ways of voting. We had to change how we did elections because of new federal laws. But I believe our system is safe, secure, and accurate. I repeat that over and over again. Folks have some concerns and thoughts about our elections, and those should be looked at as valid concerns, and let's look at them and see, if they're valid things that we need to change. Many of the suggestions that were made, this board can do. We're an arm of the state. You have to go to the legislature. You have to change the laws. This idea that we can just nullify the election, it takes 16 senators and 31 House members to pass a bill. Go to the legislature, change the laws, give us the authority to make some of the changes that are being suggested. That's the truth. Don't want to believe it or not, that's the truth. But nonetheless, my hats off goes to all our election staff, all our volunteers, all the folks that worked at the polls. I know many of them are here. Thank you so much for spending a very long day at the polls and ensuring that voters have an opportunity to cast their ballots. So my hat's off to everyone in elections. I know Thanksgiving, Mr. Chairman, real briefly, Thanksgiving's coming around. I hope everyone has time to sit down with their family, have a nice meal, and have a restful day. But thank you to all the elections officials.
Thank you, Supervisor Gallardo. Supervisor Galvin.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone here who took the time downtown to express to us their feelings and obviously their frustrations over what happened in the past election. As of the last count, 1.5 million people have voted in Maricopa County. I took notes on all 23 speakers who spoke today, expressing their frustrations and their disappointment with Maricopa County. However, I understand that there was a lot of issues that were raised today, but I think some people, especially the people who had firsthand experience with these as poll workers and poll observers, their situations, those are very helpful for us because we do not accept the problems for any one voter who had an issue on that Tuesday. We were all very disappointed in what happened, and we want to make sure it never happens again. But we learn from folks like you, and I also learned from the folks who were calling me on Tuesday who were telling me about the problems that they were having. I actually went out to a couple of polling sites and actually talked to the workers who are the problems we were having. But I want to tip my hat to the election workers who got to work immediately to rectify the problem. So there's issues here that occurred, and there's incumbent upon us to understand exactly what happened to make sure that next time it doesn't happen again. A couple other issues were raised. Excuse me?
I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
exactly
sorry,
what we're
ma'am.
doing. That's why I'm listening. Some of you raised very good questions. Mr. Bradshaw asked very good questions today. Some of you asked very good questions. But secondly, I want to talk about whether or not we are considered the laughingstock around the country. People
Again, I'm sorry. I'm going to take a moment. None of us interrupted you all. Maybe I did if you went over 2 minutes, but none of my colleagues did. Please allow them to speak. We sat here, listened very closely to all of you. Thank you so much.
I just want to say, this is a two-way street. Respect is a two-way street. I completely respect all of you, and I understand the passion and the frustration, but I'm telling you right now, I'm listening to you. But I'm also have to listen to all 1.5 million people that voted in Maricopa County. And if people have issues with how long it takes to count the votes, then go to your state legislature. They've been sitting on their butts. They haven't done a single thing. And if you want changes in how votes are counted, then let them know. But we follow state law. We do exactly what we're told. You follow the law, you follow the rules, you do it. Now, if people want to change the state law and how votes are counted, think about the unintended consequences. And that's what debate is for. That's what deliberation is for. So if we want to have this discussion at the House or at the Senate or at the next governor, I would be happy to have those conversations with you. I think the state legislature should pay attention. They should start focusing on issues that really matter involving elections, and I want to see improvements, because in this day of the social media age where misinformation can spread really quickly, that's what does damage to Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Galvin. Next, we have Vice Chair Hickman. Again, Vice Chair Hickman.
So, Mr. Chairman, I've had a lot of years on this board and have seen great leadership. I've seen tough leadership. I've seen weak leadership. But what I've seen out of this board and what we try to convey is a sense of open-mindedness and not defensiveness. We are talking about a vital function of democracy, and that's running an election and being accurate with election. And we have absolutely will not sacrifice accuracy for speed. So you bring up a great point. There are a lot of people that have said, why don't you do it as well as France? Why don't you do it as well as Florida? Most of these things can be answered with a simple question or a simple answer. Their laws are different. Their laws are different. Their way of life is different. So I wanted to just use my brief moment to thank everyone in this auditorium that came on a work day. There were certain people and groups that want us to believe that you will come and act up and be ungracious and unhumble. That is pathetic, but we were girded for that. I want to thank you guys for coming here and speaking your voice. This reminds me of why we are in government. We get to listen to our citizens. We get to treat them back with respect, but we also need to tell you, we look into problems and we have the ability to make this government better in elections, in vector control, in our parks. So thank you all for coming today. I appreciate it so much, especially if you drove in all the way from my district, which is about the furthest out in places. So thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will tell you, I appreciated it very much on the day right after the election when we determined that there were printer problems. Our technicians determined that we had a machinery problem, and you spoke and let us send a letter saying, this is something we are going to look into. We will get to the bottom of it. Was it a machinery problem? Was it a people problem? But I'm going to reflect back on Tom. There were a lot of people that were able to vote exactly the way they chose to vote, either day of, mail-in, the use of boxes, drop boxes, the ability to drive to whatever location they wanted to, because in the West Valley, I know there's a lot of people that live in my district but drive into Phoenix, drive into Mesa, and have always tried to figure out how to get back. We offered that ability this year. So don't take offense at things that this board has been asked to do by both Republican and Democrat voters over an 8-year period. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Again, I want to thank everyone for your time today, all those of you who worked in the election. We appreciate, as Supervisor Galvin said, your input, the things that you've experienced. If there's other information you want to share with us, we would invite you to email that information to us. But I just want everyone to understand the amount of time that was put into this election. 3,000 temporary workers alongside our regular workers. These are your neighbors. These may be your family members. Many of these have done that. Many of these people have done it for many years, and they're trying to do their level best. And don't forget, there are eyeballs. I think someone mentioned that, how many observers that were there. We had the most observers we've ever had. Those are Republicans and Democrats, eyeballs on the process. So we benefit from that because we're learning today. But also, if you think there are things, the nature of which you have described, you should be able to report that information to us. This board will canvass the election. You also may have heard that called certification, okay? We call that the canvass. That'll be coming soon. We will provide that information to you when we're going to do that. In the meantime, it is our job, first of all, for the election to continue, the counting to continue, and then this board will review all the information before it, and it will make a determination whether to canvass this election. That's the process. That's how it works, and there is nothing out of the ordinary on the amount of time that this count has taken. Over the past 2 decades, it's been approximately 12 days is how long it takes. Right now, we haven't even reached that. The election was 8 days ago, and we're nearly done. So it's important that people know the facts, and people also understand. I would encourage you to go research the many redundancies that were in place that allowed every vote to be counted, even for those people who did wait in lines. I am really disappointed to see people are now interrupting me while I sat here for hours and listened to them. But that's their choice. And again, we want to thank all of you for being here, and we wish you a very good day. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.